This program is provided by Universal Genesis.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking on a concept that is, well, it's so slippery, so fundamentally abstract, that it's fueled philosophical debate and a lot of frustration for almost a century.
It really has.
We are wrestling with Martin Heidegger and specifically his attempt to name the unnameable, Sein selbst, existence itself.
This is definitely one of the most intellectually demanding deep dives we've ever taken. But our mission today is pretty simple, actually.
Okay.
We're basically treating Heidegger like a philosophical crime scene. We're going to use the sources you provided to trace where this idea came from, why it was supposed to be so revolutionary, and this is the important part.
Yes.
How the man who vowed to destroy all of Western metaphysics has, in the end, just created its final, most perfect form.
It's a huge paradox.
The ultimate paradox. Okay, to even get started here, we have to begin with the fundamental tool Heidegger gave us, this linguistic tool.
The distinction.
The distinction between sein and seinendes. This is the lens, right? We have to see everything through this.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. And it's really the difference between, say, a noun and a verb, or a thing and the condition for that thing.
I'll lay it out for us.
Okay, so seinendes existing things or beings, that's everything you can point to. This microphone, the idea of justice, the feeling of anxiety, you, me.
All things that are.
Exactly. They exist. But sein, or existence, is the condition, the light, maybe, or the verb that allows all those things to be in the first place. It's not a thing itself. It's the possibility of things.
That still sounds extremely abstract. I'm glad the sources gave us that really simple analogy to ground it.
The bread baking.
The bread baking analogy, yeah.
Right. It's a good one. If you're baking bread, the flour, the oven, the heat, even the finished loaf, those are the seinendes. They're existing objects and their attribute.
The what's.
The what's, exactly. But sein is that unseen, underlying, call it an event, that makes the whole baking process possible. It's the specific condition of openness that lets the ingredients come together and actually be there as bread.
So it's the how and the that, not the what.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, so we're talking about existence, the very possibility of being. I think the natural starting point for a lot of people is going to be comparing Heidegger to his successor, Jean-Paul Sartre.
Of course. The two big existentialists.
Right, and if they're both asking these profound questions about life, isn't Heidegger's Sein just a really complicated version of Sartre's search for individual meaning?
And that's where we hit the first crucial wall. It's really a wall of scale. You see, Sartre's famous line, "Existence precedes essence," focuses squarely on the individual I.
My existence.
It's all about my existence. I am thrown into the world with no instructions, no meaning, no reason, and my job is to create my own meaning. I do that through radical choice, through action. It's an ethics of personal creation.
So Sartre is focused on the personal story, the responsibility of the single, isolated self.
Precisely. Now, Heidegger makes a move that is, historically just far more radical. He doesn't ask, why am I alive? He asks, why is being itself possible? His focus isn't on my individual meaning, but on the very possibility of meaning existing at all. That sein selbst, existence general.
So the whole direction is different. It's not to create meaning.
No, it's to question the entire framework of existence. He's not trying to solve his own anxiety. He's trying to solve, the problem of reality itself.
Wow, okay.
And the only being in the entire cosmos that can even ask a question this big is the human being, which he calls Dasein.
Literally being there.
Yes, being there. And through Dasein, and only through Dasein, that existence itself becomes a question for the very first time. He really believed this was our sole unique task as humans.
That's incredibly audacious. If he's questioning the fabric of reality, he must have believed that thousands of years of philosophy had missed something huge.
Oh, he did. He claimed that the entire history of Western philosophy, starting right after Plato and Aristotle, had suffered from what he called the forgetfulness of being.
The forgetfulness of being.
Think about that claim. He's saying 2,000 years of genius basically failed because they stopped asking about the condition of existence, the sein, and only focused on analyzing the things that exist. The seinendes.
Where did they go so wrong, in his view?
Well, his main target was Aristotle. Heidegger argued that Aristotle reduced the massive question of being down to just an attribute of a thing.
How so?
Aristotle basically said existence is just the way that individual things actualize themselves. So being becomes just a property of a being. Heidegger saw this as a catastrophe. It trapped existence in a definition, made it another seandes, and completely missed the real dynamic question.
So he wanted to rewind to restart the conversation.
Exactly. That's the rejection of history.
Mm.
Then there's his immediate mentor, Edmund Husserl, and phenomenology.
Right. Husserl's method. How did he twist that?
Well, Husserl's whole thing was always look at things as they appear. Zu den Sachen selbst. And Heidegger took this and just pushed it to its absolute limit. He said, okay, if we look at things as they appear, then existence itself, saying it can't be a static definition. It has to be the event of things appearing.
The event of disclosure, what he called erigness.
Exactly. Existence is dynamic. It's always happening, always revealing itself. And that leads right to his third big break.
Theology.
The rejection of theology.
Yeah.
For centuries, the answer to why do we exist was,
Because God created us.
simple. Heidegger firmly rejected that. For him, existence is not a gift from some transcendent creator. It is the opening of the world itself, a clearing in the forest,
Right.
a lichtung, independent of any outside force. It's the raw horizon where things can stand out from nothingness.
Okay, so we have this idea of sign as the open event of disclosure, the Lichtung, but it fills this ultimate structural role, the root of all reality. So it's very tempting to equate it with classic concepts like Kant's Ding and Sich,
The thing in itself,
or Plato's eternal idea. Why is that a mistake?
because of location. It's all about location, location, location. Both Plato's idea and Kant's thing in itself, they occupy the space of the hidden.
What are you on?
For Plato, the idea is transcendent. It's up there, above and beyond this messy world, which is just a shadow. For Kant, the thing in itself is a transcendental limit. It exists, but it's permanently unknowable. It lies outside the bounds of human experience.
So in both of those systems, the ultimate reality that determines everything we see is hidden. It's either behind us or above us.
Yes, exactly. And here comes the great Heideggerian turn, the big reversal. If they said reality is hidden behind the curtain, Heidegger says sign is the curtain being pulled back. Sign is not some hidden substance behind the phenomenon. It is the opening, the clearing through which the phenomenon appears in the first place.
Let's make that visual. If reality is a stage play.
Perfect. For Plato and Kant, the ultimate reality is like the scriptwriter hidden in the audience. You can't see them. For Heidegger, sign is the spotlight.
The spotlight. I like that.
It's the sheer illumination that allows the actors, the sciendes, to be visible at all. So sign is fundamentally on this side of the phenomenon. It's immediately present as the event of disclosure. It's what makes the stage be a stage.
That is a fantastic way to see the shift. Okay, let's circle back to Aristotle for a second. The sources draw this really strong, almost uncanny parallel between Heidegger's abstract sign and Aristotle's unmoved mover.
It seems like a strange connection.
It does. How can a metaphysical God substitute resemble a dynamic event like sign?
It all comes down to the structure. You see, Aristotle needed a first cause. He reasoned there must be an ultimate non-moving root, the unmoved mover, that causes all the motion in the cosmos, but it doesn't move itself. It's the pure condition for all activity.
It's the engine that never actually runs.
That's it. And Heidegger's sign cells fills the exact same structural role. It's the non-existing root that makes all existing things possible. It's the ultimate condition for the appearance of reality, but it's not a reality you can point to or define.
So they both occupy that same spot, the non-active condition for all activity.
They do. But the core difference, of course, is that Aristotle's mover was static, pure, perfect thought.
And Heidegger's is.
He transforms it from that static, perfect reason into a dynamic, shifting event of disclosure, the erigness. It's constantly unfolding, constantly hiding and revealing. It's the unmoved that is perpetually moving, changing the lighting, opening new spaces, pulling back the curtain, only to let it fall again.
It's the ultimate paradox built right into the system.
That's the whole game.
And this brings us right to the core riddle we wanted to solve. Did Heidegger really end metaphysics, or did he just perfect it? Because if he's replacing the unmoved mover with an unmoving event, the structural identity there seems suspiciously intact.
This is the most brilliant and, I think, tragic critique of his entire project. He wanted to dismantle the metaphysics of presence, this idea that reality has to be rooted in some permanent, fixed substance.
He declared the end of philosophy by asking about sign instead of scientis.
He did. But look at the structure. The pattern just repeats itself. Plato has an invisible idea that governs the visible world.
Right.
Kant has an unknowable thing in itself dictating the phenomenon.
And Heidegger has an ineffable sign selbst disclosing the scientas.
You can swap the words, transcendent, transcendental event, but the architecture remains. There's a non-empirical foundational root that governs all experience. He just provided the final form of metaphysics. He completed the template by realizing the root couldn't be a thing, it had to be an event.
And he never actually finished the job, did he? The second part of being and time, the part that was supposed to finally define the meaning of sign,
Was never written.
why?
And that in itself is a philosophical statement. If he had provided a definition, a conclusion, he would have reduced sign back to a scientis, just another existing thing. The whole system would collapse back into that forgetfulness of being he was trying to overcome.
So the incompleteness is the point.
It has to be. The ultimate truth of existence, for Heidegger, is that it is the unfinishable question. Its meaning is its continuous possibility, not its final answer.
Okay, we've kept this pretty abstract, but all philosophy is rooted in a context. How does this intensely abstract vision of sign as this dynamic opening, how does that connect to the concrete reality of his own life and time?
We have to ground this. Heidegger's concept of sign was deeply, deeply connected to the earthy and the native. He saw the opening of being, the Littung, as being rooted in the specific environment of the Black Forest.
The German potato fields.
The potato fields, the German mother tongue, which he famously called the house of being. For him, sign wasn't just some logical abstraction. It was the light cast specifically on his Heimat, his homeland.
So how did he get from that rootedness to the central anxiety of his most famous work, Being in Time? I mean, that book is all about death.
That's the hinge. Human existence design is defined by Geworfenheit, thrownness. We are thrown into this world without any innate reason or root, totally adrift, especially in a world where God no longer provides a foundation. So it provides any certainty. Only one thing.
Death.
Death. Sign tode, being toward death. It's the only certainty, but he sees it as illuminating, not extinguishing.
How so?
Because death is the absolute finite limit. And facing that limit is the only thing that forces the individual to realize their finite time. It's the only way for this thrown existence to seize authentic responsibility and gain meaning.
So death isn't the end of the light.
No, it's the reverse light. It's the dark framework that allows the possibility of life to stand out sharply against the background of nothingness.
This sounds like a noble individual pursuit, but this search for a new root in the void left by Nietzsche's Death of God, it led him somewhere very dark.
It did. It led him to political nationalism. It's the tragic consequence of his philosophical failure to find a transcendent root. Since sign, the foundation of all existence, was no longer guaranteed of God, he sought a new home for it, a new foundation.
In the earthly world.
In the Volk, the nation, the people. His desire for the state to act as the guardian of existence was a disastrous attempt to block the complete spiritual and intellectual dissolution that he feared was coming.
Let's follow that thread of philosophical failure into the aftermath. So, Heidegger fails to root sign in the nation. His successor, Sartre, tries to root meaning purely in the absolute isolated individual. Did he escape the trap?
Not at all. Not even close. Sartre's absolute freedom led to absolute loneliness, crushing anxiety. That individual responsibility was just too heavy a burden.
So what did he do?
Later in life, Sartre, basically paralyzed by that freedom, sought refuge in societal and historical necessity. He embraced communism. He embraced the idea that collective purpose and history could provide the foundation he couldn't find in his lonely self.
So we see the exact same structural move. The need for a foundational absolute, a new God, just keeps reappearing.
It just changes its name. The nation, the collective, society. It's the ghost in the machine. And the story doesn't end there. If we fast forward to today, you have object-oriented ontology, OO, which seems to turn its back on Heidegger's sign completely.
Ooh, from thinkers like Graham Harman. That seems obsessed with things, with existing objects. How does that contrast with Heidegger's focus on the event of existing?
It's a complete reversal. Heidegger said we must focus on the Lichtung, the opening, because that's what lets things appear for us. OO completely rejects that privilege given to human perception.
So what do they focus on instead?
They say, no, we have to focus on the objects themselves, the scientis, because they possess a robust, private, independent existence, whether they're humans or stones or AI algorithms.
So is a philosophy that prioritizes the thing over the light that reveals the thing.
You could say it's the ultimate revenge of the scientis. It's an extension of the existing thing, taking those objects as radically independent entities. And it forces us to ask deep questions about the reality of things outside of human consciousness, which is, incredibly relevant in an age of AI and climate change.
Where non-human entities are demanding their own kind of recognition.
Exactly. Regardless of whether they appear for us or not.
So when you look at this entire story, this whole arc from Plato to you see Western thought constantly hunting for a foundational absolute.
A place to stand.
Always. Philosophy moved from putting God in the heavens. Then Aristotle brought him down to earth. Hegel dissolved him into history. And then Heidegger and Sartre tried to bury the need for him within the soil and the individual self.
And yet that need for foundational meaning just keeps resurfacing. It reappears as the nation, as society, or now as the radical independence of the object itself. The structural hole just can't be filled. It can't. Heidegger proved that the search for existence's permanent root is endless. And maybe he provided the perfect template for metaphysics by realizing the root could only be the question, not the answer.
Which leaves us, and you, the listener, with a final, pretty provocative thought. If the search for a permanent, ultimate foundation, whether you call it God, the nation, an eternal idea, if it always fails, what foundation must we embrace now?
If we can't have permanence, what is the temporary, finite structure we have to rely on?
According to this material, the only foundation left is the finite, immediate event of being.
An event illuminated by the absolute and necessary structure of death.
An event that is always happening. Something to think about as we close this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
This program is provided by Universal Genesis.